Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel and we are going to continue with the chapter of class 9 history, lesson number 3, the rise of Nazism, Hitler and the rise of Nazism. And this is the fifth video. Already we have done 4 videos earlier which are in the playlist. You can go and see them to clear your doubts. And now we are going to continue with 2.1 unit, the destruction of democracy in Germany. As we had already come to know that Hitler had become more powerful, he tried to get more popularity among the people, and he was also accepted as he had given the people a chance that he will bring better days and he will bring a strong nation. But was he successful? Let's see how he destroyed democracy and how he put himself in an autocratic situation. And on 30th January 1933, President Hindenburg offered the chancellorship, that is the highest position in the cabinet of ministers. You can say chancellor is like the prime minister, and this position was given to Hitler. So Hindenburg, the president, invited him to become the chancellor. The chancellorship was given to him in the cabinet of ministers to Hitler. By now, the Nazis had managed to rally the conservatives also, the conservatives who were against them earlier. So he got their support. The conservative party supported Nazis and Hitler, and they all accepted their cause. Having acquired power, Hitler set out to dismantle or completely break the structure of democratic rule, the structures of democracy, how the elections are to be held. All these things he tried to break from the constitution and from the country of Germany. And there was a mysterious fire that broke out in the German parliament Reichstag building in February, and it facilitated his move. So there was a fire. Some say that it was a conspiracy which was started by the Nazi party only, and the fire was the main cause behind the destruction of many important documents. And at the time, these people decided to take the power in their own hands. So what we come to know is that the fire decree, or the rule by, because of that fire that destroyed, the fire decree of 28 February 1933 indefinitely suspended the civic rights like the freedom of speech and freedom of press and freedom of assembly that had been guaranteed by the Weimar Constitution. So as the Weimar Constitution was not there, as the whole Weimar Republic government's parliament only was destroyed at that time, this all important freedom of speech and press and assembly were all dismantled and they were suspended. Thus he became successful, and then he turned on his arch enemies, who were his enemies from earlier times, that is the communist. As you remember in the Spartacist League, how they named themselves to be communist. Most of them were hurriedly packed off and they were sent to the newly established concentration camp. So I think you know about the concentration camp, where the people, those whom Hitler disliked or who were to be punished, were sent in the concentration camp, and later on they were killed there. So most of them got punishment, and these Communist Party members were forcefully packed off and picked up and sent to the concentration camp as punishment on the pretext of some kind of crimes that they had done. Now you see that what is the importance of this particular concentration camp. You will come to know later on about his worldview, about his views, what happened, and how the concentration camp was a great disappointment for the whole German society. The repression of the communists was very, very severe, and out of the surviving 6,808 arrest files of Dusseldorf, it was a small city of 500,000 population, 1,440 were those of communists only. So these people, those who had been arrested, now most of them were targeted because they were belonging to the Communist Party alone. They were, however, only one among the 52 types of victims persecuted or punished by the Nazis across the country. So being communist was one of the type of victim. Again, 52 different types of victims were there, 51 different types of victims were there, plus the communist, being a communist was a crime. So these were the things that were persecuted by the Nazis across the country. Now after that, what happened? Let's see. On 3rd March 1933, the famous Enabling Act was passed, and this famous act or this particular rule was successful in establishing dictatorship in Germany. Now, dictatorship means rule by one person, and it gave dictatorship power to Hitler, all the powers to sideline the parliament of Germany, Reichstag, and rule by decree means rule according to his own wish. And all the political parties and trade unions were banned. No political party could be operating, and trade unions, all the different unions, groups of trade businessmen, all were banned except for the Nazi party and its affiliates. Those who were the affiliates or the partners or the supporters of Nazi party, only they were allowed to organize any kind of meeting and all, otherwise they were not, but they had to be under the Nazi party. The state established complete control over the economy also, over the media. Whatever things will be published in the newspaper and radio and all will be broadcast, everything will be determined by the government, by Hitler. Army also he will control, and even the judiciary, even the judges, even the court also will be controlled by the Nazi party only. That means even if the Nazis do anything wrong, they cannot be brought to the court or given any kind of judiciary punishment. So special surveillance and like surveillance means observation, and security forces were also created to control and order the German society in ways what the Nazis wanted. Like there was complete discipline that they wanted, and apart from the already existing regular police was there in the green uniform, and the SA or the stormtroopers, and this included even the secret state police of Germany, that is known as Gestapo, and they were in like civil dress, and they were like the secret police, like now we have like CID, CBI and all like that. And the SS, that is the protection squads for Germany's leaders and the Nazi party, and the criminal police mainly dealing with the main criminals, and the security service SD. In a way you can say that all these groups were created in order to make a very very disciplined society, so that nobody could attempt to go against the Nazi party or Hitler. And it was the extra constitutional powers of these newly organized forces or these groups that gave Nazi state its reputation as the most dreaded criminal state in the world. So it was such kind of situation that the reputation or the name and fame spread everywhere, that it was the most dreaded criminal state, but in a negative way. Their reputation here is termed to be in a negative way. Why? Because here it's a criminal state. It is the most dreaded criminal state where everybody would be afraid even to do any kind of wrong thing, or they would be afraid to go against the government also. People could now be detained or kept back in Gestapo torture chambers, where they would be beaten very badly by the police and rounded up and sent to concentration camp if they wanted. And they would be deported at will or arrested without any legal procedure. In order to arrest, you need some arrest warrants and all, but now they don't need anything. The police forces acquired the powers to rule with impunity, so they could do whatever they want. They could even rule with impunity. Here they could do any kind of what you can say desire to arrest someone, then they could arrest that. So this was the condition how he destroyed democracy in the country. And the next topic is that how Hitler did some good work also. Here chapter unit 2.2, reconstruction of the economy and reconstruction of the society of Germany, will see how Hitler tried to bring back the economy to the country back, and this is associated with the economic recovery. So let us read and try to find out. Hitler assigned the responsibility of economic recovery to the economist Zalmar Sachet. So here the name is given as Zalmar Sachet, H may not be pronounced, who aimed at full production and full employment through a state-funded work creation program. So Hitler gave that this work should be done by a famous economist, and this Sachet was given the responsibility that you create such kind of opportunity for the people, that people get full production also and employment also, and it must be a state funded, state government will give the money for the work creation program. And this project introduced or produced the famous German superhighways where the people were making roads and they were getting paid by the government. And the people's car, the Volkswagen, now also it is popular. So Volkswagen. So I think you know Volkswagen Das Auto. So I think you have seen the ad also. So this is from Germany. It was at that time only. You can see the picture also here, how the person is personified like your Volkswagen. It is owning a car was no longer a dream for an ordinary worker. Anybody could buy it. So this was the kind of good thing that he had done. In foreign policy also, Hitler acquired quick successes. How? Because he pulled out of the League of the Nations. He was the country of Germany was in the League of Nations as a member in 1933. So he came out from there and reoccupied the Rhineland area which belonged to them in 1936 and integrated or put Germany and Austria in 1938 under the slogan that is one people, one empire, one leader. So the Rhineland area he occupied, which was already given to France and some other countries were there as a reparation. So he took back this land, and even he said that Austria should not be separated. Austria also should be together with Germany. And in 1938 he put Austria and Germany as one nation. He gave the slogan, one slogan was very popular, one people. That means one people, we are all together, Austrians and Germans, and one empire it is, and one leader we have, that is Hitler. He then went to wrest the German speaking Sudetenland from Czechoslovakia. So Czechoslovakia was a country, small country, and he tried to take away the Sudetenland, and this area was mainly occupied by the German speaking people. So he said that you originally belong to the German Empire, and gobbled up or took away fully the entire country, and slowly he took the full country of Czechoslovakia also. And in all of this he had the unspoken support of England. And the country of England had supported these all because they did not openly support, but they had considered the Versailles verdict too harsh, and that is why they also did not intervene in any kind of this next actions of Hitler. These quick successes at home and abroad abroad means outside the country, the foreign countries that he controlled, seemed to reverse the destiny of the country. And very soon it was like Germany was flourishing. Why? Because Germany was able to create employment. Germany was able to create some kind of new areas were under them. So Hitler was actually successful in bringing back what he had promised to the people of Germany. But did it stop there? No, it did not stop there, because Germany was a very, very ambitious country. You can say that Hitler was a very ambitious person, and Hitler did not stop there. And Hitler should have stopped and should have taken some other steps, but he was a greedy person and he was a very strict dictator. So Sacher had advised Hitler against investing hugely in rearmament. So he said that you should not buy ammunition and guns and all, and you should not give more money, more investment in army. Why? Because the state is still running on deficit financing. So we are progressing, but still we have a lot of money to pay, and we have to go on some kind of other ways of earning more revenue or more finance for the country. But he did not listen to Sacher. Cautious people, however, had no place in Nazi Germany. And if you are more careful and if you are giving a good advice, it is said here that those people, the cautious people, the careful people, had no place in Nazi Germany. Why? Because you have to listen to the Nazi, the Hitler. So Sacher had to leave. And Hitler chose war as the way out of the approaching situation. So here we came to know that Hitler again could not bear the insult that he had lost, their country had lost in the First World War, and that is why he thought, again I will try to control the other countries. Here you can see the map. Here the picture of Germany is shown here. This is Germany. Let me keep it here. Yeah, this is Germany here, and here you can see that they occupied some part of France. In this way they also occupied some part of this area, Norway and Finland, and up to here Ukraine also they went, and Yugoslavia also, and these small countries you can see here. Czechoslovakia is also there, Slovakia it is there now, and up to here he could. But when he tried to attack the USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, that is Germany, at that time he had to be defeated. We'll come to know about that. So we come to know that how there was an economic crisis, and he tried to come out from the economic crisis by taking the help of the war, and resources were to be accumulated or collected through expansion of territory. He said that our country will become bigger, but we have to collect the resource, and resource from where we will get the resources from the other territories, other countries that we will expand, we will take under our control. And this is what he had planned. And in September 1939, Germany took the great step, and they invaded Poland, and they attacked Poland and took the whole country of Poland under their control. Now this started a war with France and England. So till that time, France and England was not involved against Germany, but now after that they became involved in the war, and they decided to go against Germany, and France and England on one side and Germany on the other side. And in September 1940, a tripartite pact, tripartite means three parties are involved with that, and this tripartite pact or agreement was signed between these countries, that is Germany, Italy and Japan. So Germany found that Italy was an ally, a friend, and even Japan also held the same kind of view. That is why they decided to come together and strengthened Hitler's claim to international power. And now Hitler was not only limited to Germany or only Europe, but he was now known in Japan also, in Asia and Italy and some other countries also. And puppet regimes, the puppet regimes means the kings that were ruling, they were puppets. Why? Because they were being controlled by someone else. They were supportive of the Nazi Germany, and these all were installed in a large part of Europe, and many such places were there where the people were supporting Nazi Germany. They came into power, and they were put into power wherever areas Nazis had controlled. By the end of 1940, Hitler was at the pinnacle. Pinnacle means the top peak, the topmost point of his power. And here we come to know that he had become so successful that he had become greedy. And now Hitler moved to achieve his long-term aim of conquering Eastern Europe. So now he said that in the First World War, Germany was not able to conquer most areas, and now I think that we are quite powerful, that we can go and control and conquer and take our control over Eastern Europe. That is why he went to ensure that food supplies and living space for Germans should be provided. And how will he get all the food supplies and the living area, territory will come for the Germans? By taking the other countries under his control. That is conquering other countries under Germany. That is why he attacked the Soviet Union, and he made this great mistake, you can say blunder, you can say, in June 1941, because in this historic blunder, it is referred to as blunder, as one of the biggest foolish mistakes. Hitler exposed the German Western Front to British aerial bombing. And suppose this is the area where Hitler was there, and this is Germany, suppose, or his kingdom, and this side France is there, and this side you can say there is Britain, and they are fighting on one side, and the other side there is USSR. So what he did, he concentrated full power on support towards the USSR, and this part was left unguarded, and less number of soldiers he had sent there. So as you can see, he made the historic blunder of attacking on two sides. He used to have concentrated only on one side. So he exposed the German Western Front to German aerial bombing. Aerial bombing means here the bombs thrown by the planes and the aeroplanes, and this Eastern Front of area was attacked, and this area was the powerful Soviet armies were controlling that side. That is why now he was on one side attacked by the British aerial bombing, that is the planes were throwing bombs on his army, and the other side he was suffering because the army of Soviet Union was quite strong, and he had to fight with them also. The Soviet Red Army, which was a very very strong army, they inflicted a crushing and humiliating defeat of this army. This army was a very very strong army, and that is why they were defeated at Stalingrad. Then Germany was defeated in Stalingrad, Russia. After this, the Soviet Red Army hounded out like dogs are run after, and they are dragged out of the area. So the retreating German soldiers, those who were lost, those who were going back, they were told to go back and back and back, and they reached finally the heart of Berlin. And finally the Soviet hegemony the hegemony or the Soviet hegemony is that the authority or the dominance over the entire Eastern Europe was there for half a century hereafter. Here you can say up to 1990-91 the USSR was there, then it got disintegrated. So what was the situation of USA then? Meanwhile, the USA, United States of America, had resisted involvement in the war. They said that we will not take part in this war, but it was unwilling to once again face all the economic problems that the First World War had caused. So already in the First World War, a lot of money had been wasted in the war, and there was an economic problem. But still, it could not stay out of the war for long. Why? Because you could remember Japan was there, which one was another country, but they were expanding the power in the east side, and it had occupied the French Indo China area, and was planning to attack on US naval bases. The navy, that is the ships were there, the US naval ships in bases in the Pacific Ocean. So when Japan extended its support to Hitler and said that we are with Germany, they bombed the US base, the US navy base, that is the soldiers were there in the ships at Pearl Harbor. This is a famous incident. You would have seen some movies also on that topic. The US at the time unwillingly had to enter the Second World War, because when someone attacked their ships and their army, they have to go to the war. And finally they entered the war, and US entry was a great turning point, and Hitler was defeated. The war ended in May 1945 with Hitler's defeat and the US dropping of the famous atom bomb on Hiroshima in Japan, and Japan was destroyed. Why? Because they had attacked the Pearl Harbor and they were attacked by the atom bomb. So from this brief account what happened in the Second World War, we can now return to Helmut and his further story, and how the criminality, Nazi criminality, happened during that time. We will come to know in the next unit, that is unit number 3, that is the Nazi worldview. Till then, you can see the videos, and thank you. Bye.